Australia is a beautiful country, and we love the beaches, the surf, and the tropical waters of our Great Barrier Reef. But our enjoyment is threatened by many deadly animals, including one which is the most toxic creature known to man. Similar dangers lurk on the land, for we also have the most venomous snake in the world. Meet the deadly Australians. The flash of a fin, the sudden shadow on the surface of the sea. That is the most feared encounter with a deadly Australian. People have died from sharks throughout Australia. We come down to the sea in search of sport and relaxation, and yet many of us hold a morbid fear of sharks. Fear naturally develops into a savage hatred for this menacing killer. White death, great white, or white pointer are common terms to describe the most fearsome of all sharks. Even a giant whale is not too big a target for these voracious beasts. This great white is a monster. It was wise to film him from the safety of a cage.
What you're looking at here is the jaws of a 3-meter great white shark. Now, a little smaller than the ones that you saw in from the cage, but about the same size as the shark that killed 3 people on the east coast of America and actually created the storyline for Jaws. Now, just for an amazing comparison, there is the tooth from an extinct great white shark called Carcharodon megalodon. Incredible difference here. At least we hope that this shark is still extinct. Now, he was around in these waters about 2 million years ago, and with a tooth like that, probably grew to at least 20 meters or maybe even more. Can you imagine meeting a shark like that?
ugly raking teeth belie its docile behavior, and yet the grey nurse was once thought to be our most dangerous shark. We now list it amongst the basically harmless species. Ben, through his underwater experiences, has learned to live with a shark and to assess each confrontation as either a calculated risk or merely a harmless encounter. The whaler shark deserves a wary eye, for this very common shark is responsible for a major share of attacks in Australia. The white-tipped reef shark is a regular companion when diving the Great Barrier Reef. But don't be fooled by his sluggish, blundering behavior. He's more like a hound sniffing the scent of a kill, and blind instinct has caused him to bite several spear fishermen instead of the fish. The latest catchword is tiger. Ever since July 1983, when Ray Boundy watched in horror as a big tiger shark mauled and ate his 2 crew members off Townsville. His friend cried out, "He's got my leg, the bastard's got my leg." The tiger returned again and killed the girlfriend in one brutal lunge. Ben holds a healthy respect for the tiger. On board his vessel Beaver, anchored off the Ribbon Reefs, the crew meet a 4-meter tiger at very close quarters. It's awesome to witness the cold brutality of this heavyweight thug of the sea.
What you just witnessed there is a terrible feeding machine. The tiger shark and the great white shark, look, when they come in to feed, you really don't have much chance. There's just nothing stops them. But the only thing you can do is swim very fast, get out of the water. But now the other sharks, the whalers, they're fairly easy to scare away. Simply when they come in close, shake your hands at them, kick at them with your flippers or shake the camera, whatever you have, make a sudden movement toward them. And even if you're on the surface, as a swimmer would be, thump the top of the surface quite hard, but don't just simply splash. If you do these actions when the shark is a fair distance away, it actually may instead attract him. With first aid treatment in an attack, well, it's very difficult because the wounds are just so massive. Stemming the flow of blood is of prime importance, of course. So you may have to apply a tourniquet, and any open wounds, push bandages and towels in to stop that blood flow. But it's imperative to get the person to a hospital as quickly as possible. I mean, his survival really depends on how fast you speed him to the hospital.
More danger lurks in the coral arena of the deadly Australians. During his underwater explorations around our coastline, Ben has learnt that many marine creatures produce toxins for the purpose of attack or defense and are either poisonous or venomous. Poisonous animals use their toxins passively. It is in their tissues, and they are poisonous only if eaten. Lynn and Dean make a light-hearted entrance into the coral world, a Garden of Eden, neither harmless nor innocent. venomous animals are those in which a toxin is produced in association with an apparatus capable of injecting it. Some use this toxin to immobilize their prey. This beautiful fire coral tree can discharge stinging cells called nematocysts, which give a burning itch upon contact. Many of the venomous animals which use their venom apparatus in the capture of prey are also dangerous to man. One easily found by shell collectors on the reef flats is the deadly cone. 8 people have died throughout the world and 1 in Australia. In a strange twist of nature, the venom of this Geographus cone can easily kill an agile fish, but not another predatory mollusk, like an octopus, which is immune. The textile cone, however, can kill an octopus, but not a predatory fish. The extended proboscis holds a barbed harpoon which is thrust into the prey.
Now that's a Geographus cone. This is the one that has caused quite a few fatalities. And when you pick up a cone shell, always make sure you pick it up by the blunt end. Never this pointed end, because up in here, it's got a little proboscis which can fire a dart straight into you, and that's what causes the problem. Very beautiful little creature, but also very deadly. You won't even feel the bite. You'll just feel after a few minutes very drowsy, your muscles go quite sore and tired, and also by then breathing can become difficult and you can die. So the first aid treatment is the same as for a snake or a blue-ringed octopus. Apply a compressive bandage around the bite, wrap it right around and up the limb, and even immobilize the limb. There's no anti-venom, so the person will have to be rushed to hospital because they may have respiratory troubles and require expired air resuscitation.
Mouth-to-mouth resuscitation is what people now call expired air resuscitation. This basic life support technique can be performed anywhere without equipment and takes priority over all other treatments in a life-threatening situation. Some creatures use their venom apparatus solely in defense. In these animals, the toxic cells are clustered around the base of spines. The butterfly cod can jab its venomous dorsal spines into any creature molesting it. The pain is intense, but not fatal. Tetrodon poisoning is the most violent form of fish poisoning. The pufferfish, or fugu fish, is a gourmet's gamble in Japan. It's a favorite dish of the well-to-do in special Japanese restaurants because of its flavor and the intoxicating side effects. Dozens of Japanese die each year from eating this fish, and yet this only seems to enhance the excitement. Attending this Epicurean experience. At $10 a 2-ounce dish, it would appear to be one bite from oblivion. Ciguatera is a common and unpredictable poison caused by eating certain tropical fish. Thousands of people have been affected. Only recently have scientists determined the cause. They worked not on the flesh of the fish, but on the microalgae on which small fish feed. It is believed there is a progressive concentration along the food chain until we get to the big fish, which are more commonly eaten by man.
This is a red bass, definitely no good for eating. This is the guy that you've always got to throw back because this guy is really bad for ciguatera. Here he goes. The first thing you'll feel is a tingling and numbing in the lips, the extremities, the fingers, the hands, and this may persist for quite a long while. If it's a serious case, you'll get nausea, diarrhea, excessive vomiting, numbness, aches all over the limbs. Perhaps the strangest is the opposite temperature perception, meaning that if you have a cup of hot coffee, it's like ice going down your throat. If you have, worst of all, if you have a cold glass of beer, it burns your throat. It's a pity that this red bass is very much like a beautiful eating fish called the mangrove jack, and it's very hard to tell them apart. So if you're not sure, well, the best thing is to feed it to the cat first, but the neighbour's cat.
In the past, our oceans were spiced with mythical monsters. We know now they are not real. But one monster is not a myth. This giant squid measured 13 meters in length and was swallowed by a sperm whale off Albany. The sleek barracuda was once embellished with a nasty reputation. We realize today his only threat is ciguatera poisoning. Early sagas of the tropics always depicted a pearl diver caught in the jaws of a giant clam. Rick Burnap found such a predicament impossible.
Here he comes.
Heavyweight bulldog of the sea, the groper has built up quite a reputation for both aggression and friendliness. Ben's team believe in the latter and let the monster go.
Straight down. He's straight back down. Straight back down.
Serpents of death. That's coming up next on The Deadly Australians. The powerful venom of some sea snakes is more toxic than the worst land snake. 2 people have died in Australia, but a fatal bite is fairly unlikely because only a small percentage of bites actually manage to inject the poison. The ritual courtship of mating snakes is a sinuous affair, but fancy getting excited over an anchor chain. It's fortunate that sea snakes are so short-sighted. They generally won't see a diver and will simply swim by. If a snake does come up to you, the best move is to lift the flipper and interpose it between the snake and you, keeping it in front of its eyes. You will find the snake will soon lose interest in this black wall. If he is very aggressive, then just give him a sharp kick with your flipper. Some divers actually prefer to freeze on the bottom and let the snake literally crawl all over them. Few have the nerve for this, and it is not recommended.
But if the snake does bite, pull it off very quickly, because it doesn't usually get all that venom in on that first bite. It likes to chew at you for a little while to sink more venom in. Now, about 2 hours, I suppose, it takes for the venom to start to take effect. And the first thing is the drooping eyelids, a drowsiness, soreness of muscles, and then eventually muscular paralysis, and you simply go to sleep and die. Now, you treat sea snake the same as for land snakes. You apply pressure on the bite, you wrap a compressive bandage right around the affected area and right up the limb. Rush the person to hospital, because we do have a specific anti-venom for the sea snake. In fact, even tiger snake anti-venom will do.
Australia has 140 species of land snakes, and 11 of these have a venom more toxic than the cobra, which kills 10,000 people each year in India. We also have 19 species more venomous than the rattlesnake. The king of them all is the Taipan. He's clever, fast, and very aggressive when provoked. Snake expert Michael Cermak takes American herpetologist Bill Brown on a taipan hunt.
Hang on, we got something here, Bill. There's a nice taipan too.
That's a taipan, huh?
That's a taipan, all right.
That's what I came to see, a taipan. This is the hottest snake in Australia, huh?
The one. Good size too. Just on 6 feet.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Pretty face.
Right, too. No intention to bite.
I can go back to the States now and feel that I've seen a taipan in the wild. That's a rare treat.
The deadliest snake we have here.
You're kidding.
And
Well,
they're
I've heard it.
extremely fast too. When they strike, it's like lightning. They hit you 5 times before you know it.
He's more dangerous than the tiger snake, right?
Oh yes, definitely. My word.
Because he's fast, is that it?
Faster, got much longer fangs, and they can produce enormous amount of venom. And you can get up to about 120 milligrams out of one milking eel.
And Michael has captured an impressive display for the Wild World Crocodile Park near Cairns. An expert always appears so casual in his handling of snakes. In this case, the common red-bellied black is a shy snake and would prefer to hide.
Otherwise, it can certainly make you very sick.
He wants to burrow, you can
Yes,
see that.
it's getting a little bit hot for him. And this snake here is one of the rarest elapid snakes we have in Australia. That's the collet snake. It's a relative to this black snake.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Beautifully marked snake too.
And is he about the same degree of...
No, it's a little bit worse than the red-bellied black snake.
Beauty is only skin deep with all snakes. The colorful bands of the tiger shroud a snake which is second to the taipan. Chapel Island in Bass Strait has a giant jet black tiger which shares the burrows of the muttonbirds and eats their young. Filming wildlife behavior requires many hours of patient stalking, and the simple act of taking a drink is an exciting reward. Clearing and ploughing the bushland has destroyed the habitat of a very nasty snake. The death adder is aptly named, for it once claimed a death rate of 50% of its victims. This snake demonstrates a unique trick with its pointed tail. The wriggling tail is used as a hunting bait and will lure the prey closer in.
Basically, snakes are very shy creatures and they will try and avoid you. Now, if you do see one, just keep very still or quietly back away and just leave it alone. Don't try and kill it. Now, if you are bitten, immediately press your thumb over the bite mark there and apply a broad compressive bandage over the bite area first, and then Lynn is going to continue right up the whole limb. Now, it's got to be firm, but don't make it any tighter than what, let's say, you'd bind a sprained ankle. Also, no need to wash the bite area, because later when you get to the hospital, the doctor's going to take a swab of the venom and determine exactly what species it is, so that he can apply the specific anti-venom. It's also a good idea to immobilize the limb, and so that it's literally strapped against the side of the body and can't be moved at all. This will lessen any of the venom flow further up your body. It feels good. Now this new method is a lot more effective than that old tourniquet and the cut and suck method. In fact, I think the knife probably scared people a lot more than the bite. And this new treatment is actually so effective that it's now reduced the death toll in Australia from snake bite down from 14 to only 1 per year.
An ominous discovery, the fierce snake, the most venomous land snake in the world. Coming up next on The Deadly Australians.
This is a rather interesting snake.
It's understandable. 73-year-old Charles Tanner does not wish to handle his most toxic collection. The fierce snake fortunately inhabits an arid, unpopulated area back of Burke in southwestern Queensland. Its habits are still largely unknown.
Years ago, the venom has been investigated only recently by the Commonwealth Serum Laboratories, and it's found to be the most toxic of all the land snakes. That's talking about the world, not just Australia. On the other hand, you wouldn't call it a really dangerous snake. It's fairly placid, unlike the North Queensland Taipan, which is anything but placid. This is a taipan you see being milked here. The reason for milking them is to provide venom for the Commonwealth Serum Laboratories, and they're using it in the process of making antivenoms.
Tanner's partner, Barry Gray, gave the taipan just a few seconds to bite the latex. That's all it needed to inject 150 milligrams of lethal venom.
Taipan, it'll probably, when it's dry...
At this Cooktown snake farm, they milk 40 snakes every fortnight.
100, 150 milligrams, I think, wouldn't you?
The venom is frozen first and then placed in a vacuum tank for 4 hours. This changes it firstly to a vapor and finally to a powder form which can be stored indefinitely. It's delivered to the Commonwealth Serum Laboratories where scientists manufacture taipan antivenom. People like Charles Tanner are helping to save lives. Antivenoms are available for all our dangerous snakes and other venomous creatures. They are issued free to all hospitals in Australia. Creepy, crawly spider, named after a Greek weaver, Arachne, whom the gods changed from a beautiful woman into a repulsive, web-spinning spider. We seem to draw the spider to us. They like the backyard rubbish of suburbia or the quiet haven of an outback toilet. In America, they call it the black widow. In New Zealand, the katipo, and here in Australia, the redback spider. Only the female is dangerous, and 13 people have died. Australian scorpions can deliver a nasty sting, but rarely fatal. They can be a placid creature to man, but a vicious predator to the redback. The Sydney funnel web spider is another killer. The male is deadlier in this case and has caused 13 deaths. He likes the North Shore suburbs where big homes and gardens blend in with the rocky hills. The male wanders afar in search of females and will even enter homes.
You know, spiders just love that sort of country, this corrugated iron. The fear of the spider is even more intense than the fear of the snake. I'm sure you've seen people who are literally horrified when they see a spider crawling around in front of them. The redback and the funnel web can be fatal, but there's at least another 10 spiders who can pack a very good punch. And the redback is a very common spider. People are bitten because of the places that the spiders like to live. Now, they love the rubbish in your backyard, and even in the tool shed and that old-fashioned toilet. Now, the bite, you'll see it because there'll be just a little prick of blood there. And after about an hour, the symptoms start to appear. And with the red back, there's fairly intense pain in the bite. Now, treat the spider bite exactly the same as you would for a snake bite. Keep the pressure over it, apply the compressive bandage, wrap it right around, right up the arm, and immobilize the limb.
The death rate has recently dropped since the Commonwealth Serum Laboratories introduced an antivenom for both spiders. Our mangroves breed the world's most toxic creature, next on The Deadly Australians. To the uneducated eye, a mangrove swamp is nothing very special, a muddy wasteland, a breeding ground for mosquitoes. For Ben, it is a wonderland, a nursery harbouring the juvenile stage of almost every coastal sea creature. It's also where life begins for many dangerous animals. Gardens of long-spined sea urchins are a hazard to waders. This upside-down jellyfish discharges nematocysts when disturbed. Divers call the burning sensation hot water.
At 4 o'clock this morning, tropical cyclone Eddie with a central pressure of below 990 millibars was located.
In the tropical north, the monsoonal rains are a vital link in the proliferation of life in the mangrove swamp.
Moving west at 20 kilometers per hour.
The cyclonic deluge floods the creeks and flushes the nursery creatures along with the bait fish towards the sea. The juvenile stage of the box jellyfish now swarm in the mouths of estuaries. They feed on the abundant bait fish and grow quickly into adults. A tiny commensal fish has chosen a precarious sanctuary among the paralyzing tentacles. A curtain of death dangles below. Millions of coiled nematocysts trigger the poison into the victim. 73 people have died in agonizing pain and shock. Those who survive bear terrible scars. A lycra sports suit protects Lynn from this lethal adult. A multitude of these invisible killers invade our northern beaches every summer. Ben feels that they are highly developed creatures. They avoid being washed up on the beach by diving under the waves and can maneuver around objects.
There are hundreds and hundreds of box jellyfish here, all along the shallows of this beach. Now, this one's about what we call a juvenile, about half grown, and it's a quadrigatha species, which is not as dangerous as the fleckeri, but I've seen fleckeri around here, still in the juvenile stage. You wouldn't want to go swimming here at all unless you had a lycra suit like this or you're wearing pantyhose, because they're really thick. If you are stung, it's imperative that you get pour vinegar over the limb as soon as you can. Now, the vinegar, just ordinary household vinegar, what it does is it neutralizes the nematocysts in the tentacles, and they can't fire anymore, because when they wrap around you, there's a lot of unfired ones. And if you try and rub it off with sand, which is very bad, that'll trigger off those unfired nematocysts and give you a secondary sting. And if the sting is very severe, respiratory problems will probably occur, and you'll have to give expired air resuscitation.
Our beautiful northern beaches are often deserted in favour of freshwater swimming holes. No one wishes to gamble meeting this one. Ben's underwater research has revealed the predators of the box jellyfish. Now he is studying their migratory habits, hoping to determine safe periods for swimming. We know they appear in calm weather, but when the seas are rough, they simply disappear. Ben feels they are sensitive to changes in atmospheric pressure and have an uncanny awareness of changing weather. His theory was born when he watched dozens of jellyfish re-enter the estuary and swim upriver past his wharf home 2 days before a strong wind warning.
Watch the tentacles.
Yeah. Oh, he's a big one. You see any more? Ah, I just touched one with my hand there. Few there. I think we might have solved the problem as to where the jellyfish go when the seas are rough, Lynn, because remember just before that blow, we had them all coming upstream past the wharf, just 2 days before the blow, and now the blow's over and it's calm. They're back in the river now and they're heading outstream again. And these aren't the little babies that have just, you know, coming down on their first run. These are guys who've been around for quite a few weeks. It's going to tell us that when the seas are rough, they don't just go out wide and deep as I've always believed, but maybe they come into the river, so it might be safe out on the ocean beach when it's rough, but not very safe in the river here.
Ben knows he must prove his theory beyond doubt before it can be used to determine possible safe periods for swimming in the summer months. There's another little killer which inhabits all our coastline.
There's a beautiful little creature hiding just under this rock, but it's a very deadly one. It's a blue-ringed octopus, and already they've killed 2 people in Australia, and you can find it right around the Australian coastline. The problem is that kids love to fossick in this area, around the beach and the rocks, and this creature's so attractive that, well, they'll want to pick it up, and this just could prove fatal. Now, this morning I came down and filmed this creature with my underwater camera, and it's hiding just at the base of this rock. You can see it hiding in one of the empty oyster shells. Now, those electric blue markings on its body and tentacles light up when the creature is irritated, but that makes it even more attractive, and this is why youngsters want to pick it up. The octopus has a little beak just underneath, and when it bites, it injects the venom along with the salivary glands. Now, the bite is actually painless. You may not even be aware that you have been bitten. Until after a few minutes, the tongue and the lips start to go numb, and you may even have difficulty in breathing. Now, this is called flaccid paralysis, which actually is very frightening, because the victim may appear to be actually dead, but can clearly hear the doctor discussing his demise, and he can't even call out, can't even move or even flutter an eyelid to say, hey, I'm still alive. Now, there's no anti-venom for the blue-ringed octopus, and nor is it really necessary, because the only treatment is highly efficient first aid treatment. Now, first, apply a compressive bandage over the bite site and go right up the limb the same as you would for a snake. And watch the victim very carefully for any breathing difficulties. And if this occurs, then apply expired air resuscitation. And you have to keep this up for a long while, maybe 4 to 6 hours, until the effects of the venom slowly wear off and the victim starts to revive. But of all octopuses around the world, there's none that create such a health danger as this little creature.
Harvesting marine toxins to produce wonder drugs is Dr. Joe Baker's goal.
On marine pharmaceutically active compounds, and there's no doubt that the first attraction to this work was the highly potent toxins associated with many of the tropical species. For example, we were attracted to the box jellyfish, to the different cone shells, to the stonefish, to the ciguatoxin, which is known throughout the reef and throughout the Pacific regions. When we turned our attention to the box jellyfish, we found that the toxin very quickly lost its potency and we were incapable of doing the work at that stage. When we then looked at the blue-ringed octopus, which had attracted a lot of attention in Australia because of deaths on the Barrier Reef and in the Sydney area, we were able to isolate and characterise a toxin which was non-protein. And it is one toxin from the marine environment that has been used to help man. It has been used to help relieve the pain in terminal cancer patients.
A savage drama unfolds when Ben returns to the reef. That's coming up next on The Deadly Australians. The reef may be an untapped source of miraculous drugs. The poison, tetrodotoxin, the gourmet's gamble in the pufferfish, has been clinically used in brain surgery. But a vast drug source lies with the lesser organisms, the corals and the sponges, which beautifully camouflage our next nasty creature. Lynn takes care to show the 13 venomous dorsal spines of the ugly stonefish.
I'm looking for a stonefish here. Very good country for them, and they're a lot more common than people imagine. Boy, he is hard to see. Here's one. Just looks like a piece of rock here. That's how difficult they are to see, and you can see just how that a reef walker can easily tread on stonefish. And you'll know when you tread on the stonefish, oh boy, the pain is just agonizing, absolutely agonizing, about the worst that you could imagine. Unfortunately, there's very little that a person can do for first aid. About the only thing you can do is take the person, put his foot into a bucket of fairly hot water and rush the victim to hospital. He'll be doing a lot of moaning all the way. And the doctor will give him an injection of a specific stonefish antivenom and then cut the wound open and clean out the slimy venom inside, then finally give a tetanus shot.
Ben Cropp has referred to his 35 years of undersea experience and spent a year filming all the nasties for this film. Ben, Lynn and Rick look on every dive as a pleasurable adventure, not a confrontation with the denizens of the deep. The giant groper, watching the large ray with a spike on its tail, are just two of the many amiable monsters which swim in harmony with our divers. Even the legendary moray eel is a playful kitten. Coax it with a morsel of fish and its nasty reputation falls apart. Hungry fish can be like zealous puppies. The pugnacious potato cod have disgusting table manners. But it's so easy to forgive the lovable cod. Now that everyone is made up, let's get back to the moray before he puts on a tantrum.
Today your first aid kit is very simple. No more Condy's crystals, razor blades, tourniquets, or that bottle of iodine. Simply two important things: a broad compressive bandage and a bottle of vinegar. Now the bandage, you're going to use it on the snake bites and also many of the dangerous sea creatures. And the vinegar, of course, on the marine stingers. But it's also vital that you do know how to apply the expired air resuscitation. Now this simple life-saving technique can be used anywhere at any time, and it just may make the difference between life and death.
Most people have a morbid fascination for the shark. Only an odd few claim they are nice creatures. They are the deadliest Australians, in the mind and in reality. When Rick hauled in this 3-meter whaler, he anticipated the evil intentions of a circling tiger. There is nothing so ghastly as an animal's brutal attack on one of its own kind.